Hello and welcome back to the Knitting Page channel. If you're new here, my name's Paige and I'm the face behind the Knitting Page. Today I have a traditional podcast episode for you where I will go through my finished objects, my works in progress, any acquisitions that I have, and what my next plans are for my newest cast on. So, I am going to begin with finished objects, and my finished object that I have is my Tulip Loop sweater by Other Loops, and I will throw it on for you, but I will probably take it off because it is still quite warm. The Tulip Loop sweater by Other Loops is one that I am very, very happy with the finished object. I cast this sweater on in April, I believe, and I really wanted to have it done for Easter, and then plans changed. Anyways, the long story, or I guess the short story, is that this sweater got put on ice, and I made a summer plans video, and going into the summer I was looking around and I just had so many whips that I really wanted to get off my needles and just kind of simplify the amount of projects that I had going on at one point in time, and the Tulip Loop sweater was one that I had put on my Hot Whip summer plans. And so I had a few friends at the beginning of August ask me how my Hot Whip summer was going, and I had gone through quite a few projects, but there were still some projects that I really wanted to have done for the fall. And the beauty in that is that I had all these projects that were like 30 to 75% done, so that I can have them all kind of get off my needles in time for the cooler weather. And the Other Loops Tulip Loop sweater is one that I knit in Brooklyn Tweed Shelter in the colorway Foothills. And Brooklyn Tweed Shelter is this like really lofty worsted weight, DK weight yarn. It's 128 meters per a 50 gram skein. So you get a lot of meterage per one skein. It is a fairly expensive yarn, and so I wound up getting mine on a clearance from Needles in the Hay, which is a yarn store that's located in Peterborough, Ontario, close to where I was living last year, or I guess 2 years ago now, which is crazy. The Tulip Loop sweater is as you can see, a cabled sweater. There are only 5 cables in the sweater. There's 3 on the front and 2 on the back. The back has this lovely V feature, which I can include a picture of, but when I first saw the sweater, I wasn't entirely sure if I loved it. I wasn't sure if I loved the V at the back, but I didn't really want to do any modifications to it, and I did like the overall fit of it. I liked the chunky, wide cables, and I thought I'll just knit it up. And as I was knitting it, and as I was seeing it getting worked up, I really did fall in love with that V formation in the back of the sweater. The sweater is worked up on 4.5 millimeter needles, I believe, and I was using 3.75 for the twisted rib, because it does have twisted rib finishings on the cuffs, the hems, and the collar. The collar is only a single layer of knitting, so you don't knit and fold it down, which is what I initially thought I was going to do, was having that double folded collar. Just a single layer with a tubular cast off, and I really like that. It doesn't feel too chunky. I also, when picking up for the collar, I didn't count the number of stitches that I had. I just went at a rate of, I think, 2 or 3 stitches, because I find that sometimes for my collars they end up being too wide, or they grow, they're kind of floppy, and I really didn't want that to be the case. And I do know that over time the collar will stretch out, and I'm very pleased with the collar length and the collar fit that I have. Brooklyn Tweed Shelter isn't 100% wool yarn. It is not super rustic, it's not super tough on the skin. It does bloom a lot, and when I was blocking this, I didn't really stretch it out, but the sleeves I think could benefit from maybe another block where I do give it a bit of a stretch, so that I have this really nice oversized flowy sleeve. So I think the next time that I wash this, I'll just give the sleeves a bit of a tug instead of just laying it completely flat to dry without, manipulating the fabric too much. Overall, this is a very, very quick cable knit. I know I started in April and finished it in August, which doesn't seem that quick, but there was a huge hiatus in the middle of those months where I didn't touch the sweater at all. But the actual amount of time that I spent working on it wasn't that much, especially for an all-over cabled jumper or a cabled sweater. Because the cables are so big, it means that you're really not using your cable needle that much. You're only using it on the rows that you're cabling. And because there's not many, you're only using it, in this case, 10 times a row, because there's 5 cables and each cable is composed of 2 different like cable stitches. So it flew off the needles because all that giant portion here was just stockinette for this wide panel. I would definitely suggest this pattern for a beginner knitter if you haven't done cables before and you want to get your feet wet into cables. Highly, highly recommend. It's also a drop shoulder, which I just find is like a nice like construction. A drop shoulder mimics a lot of like store-bought sweaters and commercially made sweaters, and so I think knitting a drop shoulder does work for a lot of people's fashion. Some people don't like them though because they can tend to get a lot of fabric in the armpit. I have not found that to be the issue. Like when I look at myself in the mirror, when I see photos of myself wearing this sweater, I don't think that it looks too like chunky and on top of itself. I did also like the wide rib. It is a 3x3 rib, and I think that that is also like different and special with the mix of the cables and the ribbing. Very pleased with the sweater, so much so that I actually want to cast on the Tulip loop vest by Other Loops for this upcoming fall. And so I guess I should also say like the pattern was like very easy to follow. I think it looks really neat and really polished. And I think that there's a lot of like little special details that make it unique and really unlike any other sweaters that I'm seeing out there at the moment. And there's a whole Tulip loop series by Other Loops. If the sweater isn't necessarily your case, you can go for like the roll neck or the vest, or I believe there's also a cardigan. And so there's kind of something for everyone using this very simple cable pattern. This is my one and only finished object, but I'm very, very close to finishing another one, and I will get right to that. But first, I'm going to take off this sweater because it has cooled off a lot here in Nova Scotia, but it's still so warm. I also haven't woven in all my ends yet, but shh. The other project that I have that's so close to being done is my Yuma Blouse by Knits for Days. This is a test knit, and I'm so happy that I'm going to meet the test knit deadline because sometimes life gets in the way and it's really hard, and like you do work on a tighter deadline when you're doing a test knit. But this is a test knit for Knits for Days that I signed up for because I kind of did some reflection and I was like, I don't know if I want to test knit, and then I saw the photos that she posted and I was like, this cardigan is so beautiful, or in this case I guess this blouse is so beautiful that I think I would wear it all the time. And I had this cone of Holstgarn Tides that I had gotten from La Bobinaise, which is a 70% wool and 30% silk blend. And I didn't really have any plans for it, and I thought that if I held it double, it would meet this nice DK weight yarn, and it would be a good piece that is still warm because it has wool, but it's not like an 100% wool sweater. And so swatched, I love the swatch, I love the color, and went for it. This is a contiguous shoulder construction, so you do cast on all your stitches and then you work back and forth to do some shaping for the shoulder and the back panel before you continue to do increases for the sleeve. It's a classic construction. I love the way it looks. I love the way that the increases make it look like there's like this little panel right here, even though it's just made by doing increases. It's worked back and forth, obviously, because it is a cardigan, or maybe I shouldn't say obviously, because you could steek it if you wanted to, but it's a V-neck cardigan, and I can try it on for you because I'm so close to being done. I only have a centimeter or 2 left of the sleeve before I go and do the I-cord edging. So the Yuma Blouse has I-cord edging for all of the edging. And I've never knit a cardigan with I-cord edging for all the edging, but it ended up being a really smooth and seamless process. And so I worked the body first, and as I was working the body, I went and I was like, okay, like I'm probably gonna have to switch needle sizes to go down a size to work the I-cord edging. The body and the sleeves are worked on 4.5mm needles, and the I-cord is knit on 4mm needles. And so how this blouse works is just like a regular contiguous construction. You go and you shape the sleeves and you split for sleeves and then you knit the body. but because it has I-cord edging, I was expecting to cast off and then having to go pick up my stitches for the I-cord. But you actually don't cast off, you keep your stitches live and you just go and pick up stitches on the entirety of the outside. So all along the front, all along the shoulder, the back, the front, all of the bottom stitches are already on your needles because you've just knit the body, and then you just cast on the number of stitches written in the pattern to go and work your I-cord. So it was very smooth and seamless in that sense, and that I use interchangeable needles as well. So what I ended up doing was, I was going to say I just switched the needles over, but I actually didn't. I kept my one needle live, which had my body stitches at the bottom, and then I went and took my largest interchangeable cord and went and picked up all of the other stitches and then worked the I-cord. And so there really wasn't any casting off. It was one less yarn end to weave in because you don't have to cast off, you don't have to attach a new yarn. You just knit the body and then go and pick up and then cast on after. And so it worked out to be a very smooth, seamless process, which I was really pleased with. And like, well, I was like, I think I was driving back from Cape Breton, and I wasn't actively driving, I was a passenger, and I was reading through the pattern, and I was like, I love that this is the process because I haven't seen this before, and I just love the simplicity of the cardigan. And of course this isn't blocked yet, and it is kind of curling in under itself because of the stockinette stitching, but I think once it's blocked it'll lay flat. And then this blouse also has the unique feature of not having buttons, not having I-cord ties, but having a little hook and eye closure for the front. And so I will sew on 5 different hook and eye closures to complete the cardigan so that it can be closed. But yeah, it's gonna be done super soon. The first day of school, so it's currently Saturday, August 30th. The first day of school is Wednesday, September 3rd, in which students come in and that I will be standing at the front of the class. We kind of have like an orientation welcome day for our new students on Tuesday. But Wednesday is the first day. And depending on the temperatures, this might be a really great piece to wear for that new day. Or I guess for that new day, for the first day of school. And I'll have it freshly off my needles. And so I do, when trying this on, I think it's going to be a piece that I reach for over and over again because of the neutral colors. And I do love grays. But I do really love a dark gray, and because I can find sometimes a light gray can wash me out, even though I do tend to reach for them because I do love my cool colors. I think a dark gray is really nice, and I don't have anything like it in my wardrobe yet. So I think it's going to be a piece that gets a lot of wear this upcoming fall. The pattern was written really smoothly. It was written with like great clarity. It's the first time I've test knitted for Knits for Days, and excited and would test knit for her again because I do really like a lot of her patterns. But this one, the Yuma Blouse, I think is going to be a lovely little staple to transition from summer to fall, so I'm very excited about that. The next project that I'm working on is the third of the big project that I talked about wanting to complete in my last podcast, and that is the lace pullover. And this is this pullover is actually not being knit for myself, it is being knit for my partner, Mr. Running. And so this is the, oh, I got fluff in my nose. This is the lace pullover by Ozetta. It is knit on 5mm needles for the body and the ribbing, which is something I'm a little worried about because I do usually size down a needle for the ribbing, but it said to keep the ribbing at 5mm, and so I'm following suit and keeping it at 5mm. I have completed the stockinette portion of the body, and I am about halfway through the ribbing of the body. Mr. Running has tried it on, and it is the perfect fit. I'm super pleased with it. I've tried it on as well because Mr. Running and I have very similar chest measurements, so he can wear it and I can wear it. And I think I'm really trying not to hate Sleeve Island, and knitting the Tulip loop sleeves and the Yuma Blouse sleeves, they do go off the needles so quickly, so I think knitting the sleeves of the lace pullover will be quite quick and could be done in about a week or two. I'm anticipating having less knitting time now that school has started, but I do really want to work to carve out time every day to sit, even if it's just for 10 minutes, to get a few rounds in. And so I'm knitting this in Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool in their navy color. It's super soft, and Peruvian Highland wool really does soften with washing. It's like the least rustic worsted weight yarn that's 100% wool that I have worked with. And I'm curious to see how it will pill over time. And the other thing is, because of the navy color, my dog has a undercoat that's very light, and so you can very easily see her husky undercoat underneath, but that's the joy of living with a husky, is that their fur is everywhere. The Lakes Pullover by Ozetta is one that I think will be a great sweater for Mr. Running, and he is very excited to wear this sweater. He keeps being like, I wonder when it's going to be ready. I can't wait to wear it this fall. I can't wait to tell people that you made this for me. And if you watch my fall knitting plans video, you'll know that I'm also planning to knit my own Lakes Pullover so that me and Mr. Running can have matching ones. I'm planning to knit mine in a different yarn, but I'm still keeping the navy color consistent. But instead of a pure navy, I'm going to go for this Midnight Blue Heather by, actually it's just called Midnight Blue, but it is heathered, and this is by Briggs & Little in the base Heritage. I have worked with this yarn before. I've actually made a Lakes Pullover in this yarn before, but it was the Lakes V-neck. I think it's going to be great, but I am not going to cast on my version right away. I think I just need a little break from the Lakes Pullover. And so I'm going to give myself a little break from the Lakes Pullover and cast on something else. But I am excited to have our 2 Lakes Pullovers to wear this fall. Maybe take some cute, little holiday photos in it. If I have leftovers, we'll see. This is a very, just spitballing idea. But it'd be really cute if Luna, our dog, also got a little navy sweater, and the 3 of us would all be in navy sweaters. I just think that would be really funny. And my students are obsessed with the idea of me knitting a sweater for Luna, so I might have to make their dreams a reality. But this is my second whip, and I do have one more whip, and it actually is also a new cast on. This is the Knitlet, which is a pattern by Simone, Bergh, and Tuva, Sandok. And this is a little tank top pattern that came out very recently. It came out in August, and it popped up on my feed, and I just instantly became obsessed with this pattern. The really special feature is that this pattern is reversible. And so this summer I knit the Sabai top by, oh my gosh, what's her name? By Paula Streaked, or Suzanne Mueller. Potato, and I really, really love my Sabai top. I knit it in Dusty Artichoke by Knitting for Olive, which goes with this green theme that I have going on, and as you can see, there's a lot of navy going on in the fall, and if you watched, again, the fall planning video, you'll see that that navy was very prominent on my fall knitting mood board. But the Knitlet is this tank top that's reversible, so that you can wear it with a scoop neck one way, or a high boat neck the other way. And I thought that was going to be really versatile because I do love the boat neck that is the Sabai top. But I also knit the square neck camisole by Garno Slicked, which is that square open neck, and I also love that. And so having one piece that I can make where I can get both the boat neck and the scoop net, I think is going to be really awesome to have as a layering piece for the fall and winter. I also had yarn already in my stash that would work for this pattern, and it's really not a yarn hungry pattern, and so I thought, you know what? Let's buy the pattern and let's make the top. What I'm using is, I was going to say this is Line, but this is Drops Belle by Drops in the colorway navy, and this is in place of the Line that they hold in their sample projects. They also hold it with Tin Line, and I don't have a good navy alternative in my stash for Tin Line. But what I do have is this yarn, which is Puno by Pasquale. And this is, it says Puno Winakonka. And this is a cotton and alpaca yarn. And so this yarn is very, very similar to the composition of Knitting for Olive's cotton merino, but instead of 70% cotton and 30% merino, this is 70% cotton and 30% alpaca. So it does have that prominent plant fiber in it, but you're also getting 30% alpaca instead of the merino. I bought 2 balls of this when again, from Needles in the Hay, when they were clearing out some yarn, and I bought it with some like dusty quartz pink that I thought I was going to hold together and knit the Tombow tee by Handmade by Florence. Haven't really felt pulled to knit that recently, and so I'm trying to do a better job at letting go of like plans that I have for yarn in my stash, unless I'm really, really married to that plan. And so this Puno, I was not going to be heartbroken if it went with Line to go into the tank top that I think I get a lot of wear out of. That pink quartz as well, I know I could pick up another either fingering or a DK weight yarn next summer and knit a pink tank top out of it. And so I don't think it's going to go to waste, or I could hold it with Knitting for Olive cotton merino and do something stripy. Like, there's lots of opportunities for it, but I really want to stop buying yarn if I have an alternative in my stash. And so going out and purchasing like Mandarin Petite in a navy seemed kind of silly when I already have this navy Puno, which is a cotton alpaca blend, in my stash. And so I have been working it up, and it is only currently just the back panel. I haven't been working on this a lot because I do want to get these 3 other projects done and off my needles, especially prioritizing the test knit. And so this is knit on 4mm needles, and I've knit projects in Line and Belle before on 4mm needles, and I love the way it works up. But holding it with a fingering weight yarn is just making for such a nice, like, thick, strong, but like not too chunky fabric that I think is going to make for like just like a really quality tank top, where you're going to get some good coverage. You're going to get like maybe even some support in it. Maybe it won't be as flimsy. We shall see as it works up. And then the other thing that's nice about it, I'll see if I can include a picture because I don't think it'll come up, or I can walk a little closer maybe. But as you can see, the navies are slightly different colored, and so they are giving a slight marl effect, but it's a very subtle marl, and I do think that that is a nice feature of this yarn, of these yarns paired together, and that it does have that like slight variation in depth to it due to the marling. And so overall, super pleased with this. You start with the back panel and then you work increases for the armhole. Now, my one issue I came into with this project was the instructions for writing the increases wasn't super clear, because they have instructions for both the right side and the wrong side. And so when I first read it, I thought I was doing increases on both the right side and the wrong side, even though my side said increase every even number of stitches. And so I was increasing the right side, then the wrong side, and then knitting the rows. And once I got to that next even, going right side, wrong side, right side, wrong side. And then the math wasn't working up, and so I messaged the designer, Tuva Sandok, on Instagram and said, hey, I'm confused about this section of the pattern. She got back to me in literal, like, seconds. Like, I think it was within, like, a minute. She was like, oh, I'm assuming you're talking about the Knitlet. Let me go look at the numbers. Based on the numbers you told me, I assume you're knitting the size small, which I am knitting the size small. And she went and she goes, oh, I see how we could have made that more clear. And was just like super great at responding. And so I did frog back the extra rows that I had knitted so that I could go and fix my mistakes. But this is a project that I think once I get the 2 others, or even like working on the Lakes Pullover and this, so that I can have it done while it's still warm out, will be nice. But I do think this will be a piece that I will reach for over and over again. And part of the inspiration for this piece was that I was at the mall, and again, navy's been a color that I just want a few more navy basics and staples in my wardrobe, and I was looking at some navy tank tops, and just none of them really felt like the quality that I wanted. And I thought, you know what, I have navy in my stash, like, why don't I go and just take the time? I won't have it instantly, but I will have a navy tank top that I think I will get a lot of use out of. And with this particular one, I will get lots and lots of use because it is versatile, and that if I'm feeling like a high neck you know, with like my necklace period over the top, or like a more scoop neck, square neck tank top, that I have both already and I don't have to make a second tank top. So that seems really appealing, and I'm really excited to report back on like once it's done, like because sometimes if you wear a shirt backwards, like you can tell it's on backwards, and so I'm really curious to see like, can I tell it's on backwards? Like, will one side fit better than the other? So that is going to slowly come along my needles, but those are my whips that I have been working on. I do also have a few that are lingering that I will bring back into rotation as well as I continue on with my fall plans. But I think for myself, like having these 3 active projects, really only 2 active projects is what I want, is the goal for the fall. So we'll see how things unfold. I think like, yeah, make like the 2 bigger projects with the 1 smaller project is kind of nice, because both of my sweaters and cardigans right now are really too big for me to transport on a regular basis. And so I cast this on because I was meeting up with one of my new knitting friends for coffee, and I didn't want to lug a full sweater and sweater quantities of yarn with me to the coffee shop, and so I quickly just threw this into my bag and cast it on so that I would have something small that would fit into my purse. So that was also part of the inspiration for casting that on, is I didn't have anything like small purse size that could just throw into a bag to work on, you know, if you're waiting in line or in the car or whatever. Like, there's a lot more thought and space that these bigger projects take up, and I think having a smaller project on the needles will be nice, even if they're not the priority knit, to work on, so that they can come and be that portable knitting project with me. In terms of acquisitions, since we last talked on the podcast, I did go, here it is, I did go and get some Heritage in Midnight Blue, and I actually got 10 skeins of this because my next like big project that I want to cast on is skirt number 1, and I will be holding this Bon Tricot Bliss mohair, which is from Espace Tricot. Excuse me, it's a one-of-a-kind mohair skein. It was $25 for a 50 gram skein, so that works out to be pretty good math. For a 50 gram, or I guess like the 25 gram balls of silk mohair, usually in like that $15 range. It's in this like really nice like inky navy color, and I think paired together will make a lovely skirt number 1, and that is part of my fall plan, so that I can have a matching set with my skirt number 1 and my Lakes pullover. And I think the skirt number 1, it's knit on I think 5.5mm needles for like the body of the skirt, and I think that it'll be a really quick knit, and so it'll give me kind of that like quick process, like finished object high that a lot of these projects are just taking a little longer. And if Mr. Running allows me, I might steal his Lakes pullover to wear with the navy skirt if the colors work together as like a cute little fall outfit, while mine is in the works. So we shall see. But that will be the next project that I'm going to cast on from my fall plans. The only acquisition that I have is 52 Weeks of Easy Knitting by Lane Magazine. And this was a very spontaneous purchase because I was in, so Mr. Running and I had went to IKEA to complete the knitting corner. But IKEA opens at 10, and Mr. Running also needed a new helmet, so we went to Decathlon to grab him a new helmet. The mall doesn't open until noon on Sundays, but we had finished our IKEA shopping by 11:15, so we got to the mall by 11:30, and we had some time to kill. Thankfully, Indigo was also in the same like parking lot and like shopping center area, and it was open at 11, so we thought, okay, let's just go to Indigo and we'll kill some time rather than sitting in the car before the mall opens. And of course, I went to the craft section and looked through some projects. I looked through some books, and there were so many projects within this book that I really love, and so I picked it up, and I still, like, when I flip through it, almost every project in the first section I'd love to knit. The first one that I really want to cast on is the Give Me the Tea, which is the very first pattern in the book, and it's using like a plant-based fingering yarn held with a mohair with like a very clean t-shirt design, and I have this like purple cornflower, like purpley blue that I think would look so cute in this t-shirt. And again, my house color at work is purple, and I don't yet have anything like intentionally made for that house. And so I think this t-shirt would be really cute to wear. So that might sneak into the fall plans just because I wasn't like fully... This book happened after I made the plans and the mood for it, but I think that purple would be so awesome. And I, again, would just have to go and buy like 3 skeins of mohair to hold with it to create this like super cute tank top. But there's so many other patterns within this, or it's not a tank top, it's a t-shirt. But there's so many other patterns in this book that I just think are so darling. The other one, there's like some good scrappy ones, some really cute scarves, like this scarf here. The fledgling is really, really lovely. There's this other scarf that I think would be so fun to knit. Here it is. It's called the, oh, I don't even know how to say it. I'm gonna say the Iosa. And it's this like super silly long scarf with like all these little details in it, all this color work. And I think that would be a really fun thing to knit using up scrap yarns. And I just like, I love the way it looks with it like wrapped around her with the little pom-poms and the pointy, like it's just so silly and so fun. And that I think that this would be something that my like I showed it to some of my knitting friends because I brought it to knit night. Yeah, I brought that book to knit night and I was like, the t-shirt and the scarf, like those are like the 2 projects I really want to knit. And they were like, oh my gosh, like you and that scarf, it's so silly, it's so you, like we could 100% see it. And I have been kind of trying to keep the crazy colors out of it, but being able to have some fun with some crazy colors and just kind of like slowly work on it, work through these patterns, work through my scrap yarns, I think would be a lot of fun. So that may be one of the accessories that gets casted on at some point this fall. It's also knit in the round, so who doesn't love a scarf knit in the round? Something about back and forth knitting in a scarf, I just feel like that's where we're supposed to start, and there's like some like some bad mojo with like the back and forth garter scarf that like all of us probably started knitting because that's like the first project everyone starts with. So that's all I have for today. I hope you are enjoying the last little bit of summer and getting ready for fall. I know I am really loving it, and until then, goodbye.